don't believe in God. Do I stand?
Yes.
Yes. I'll solemnly affirm.
Yes. Okay.
I solemnly affirm to tell the whole truth
Nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mrs. Kirkpatrick. We've called you, I think your name's changed, I've been informed.
My name
Yeah.
changed in 1999 when I
Uh-huh.
stopped being a doctor, and I also took my married name, Maureen van der Merwe.
Okay, so my apologies, we didn't have that information
Right.
about you. We called you in relation to a complaint filed by Mrs. Hester, I can never pronounce her last name. Grelle, yeah, who thinks that you may be able to corroborate her claim that
Yes.
her husband died prematurely because he
Yes.
was prevented from getting treatment overseas.
Well, I know Mrs. Grayley as Sylvia.
Uh-huh.
She used to be a physiotherapist at the hospital
Yes,
when I
that's
first
right.
arrived here. Her husband, Conrad, lived in Sweet Escort en Royal, and I knew him before his diagnosis and then after his diagnosis, which I think was done in South Africa. Do you want me to tell you about him?
Yes, please.
He was diagnosed with an extremely rare and rather vicious tumor of the small intestine called a leiomyosarcoma. And he was due to return to have follow-up treatment in South Africa, which would have been radiotherapy, chemotherapy, and if all did not go well, palliative treatment.
And he wasn't permitted to go and have that treatment.
His family told me, he told me that he was not allowed to fly back to South Africa, which meant that in the last, as I said, apart from being a very rare tumor, it is an extremely nasty tumor. And we did not have the treatment here in Seychelles. And also, eventually it was his family who did his home care until it became too difficult. And he was taken in by, I think it was Mr. Lett, the surgeon in Victoria Hospital, where he died. I think it was 1993 in July. I unfortunately can find no notes either from Ant Royal or from the archives in Victoria Hospital. But I remember this mainly because he was a patient of mine, but also because of his very unusual diagnosis.
And would his life have been prolonged?
It would have been prolonged, yes. It would have been prolonged. I cannot remember exactly how far the tumours had become, whether he had got secondaries then when he was wanting to go, but it would have been 6 months to a year, prolonged. His tumor was a leiomyosarcoma, which is a tumor of the small, it's a tumor of the smooth muscle. And it is more, it's not common at all, but it's more occurring in uterus and bladder. But in the small bowel, it's the only one I've seen in 40 years.
And how is it detected? By a scan or?
Well, they didn't really have scans in those days. I mean, we're going back. Yes, probably he'd probably had an endoscopy, X-ray and then endoscopy. This was done in South Africa, which we didn't have the facilities here. The other thing is that late diagnosis can occur because of the place it is, small bowel. You're going to get fairly vague symptoms before you get anything that can be found in the stool. I think he'd already had an operation for the histology.
Could I ask you to write the name of the...
Yes?
Yeah.
Leo-MYO.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Make it quick. Leomyo en sarcoma.
While you were here, we were wondering whether we could take advantage of your presence and ask whether you examined the body of Davidson Chang Him at all.
Yes, I was a doctor at Anse Royal on the night of the coup d'etat, but Dr. Dauphin brought all the peripheral, well, I was a female, and then there was Dr. The gynecologist, brought us into Victoria Hospital for safety, and I happened to be in the small casualty department when he was brought via us to the old mortuary, which is now where the gynae ward is. It was a small hut in the middle of a field. So Davidson Chang Him's, remember he had an entrance wound in the left lower back and an exit wound in the front. It's entrance wounds are smaller, exit wounds tend to be much larger.
We had requested from the hospital some time ago the records, but we're still waiting for an answer on that request, because I think that you being able to tell us that really confirms what we've been told and what we know, but to not have the medical...
During that time, we were not allowed to do any postmortems.
No
Neither
postmortems.
on Bérard or on Francis Rachel or on Chang Him. It was just, we were just not allowed.
Right. And Francis Rachel, he's a bullet wound as well?
He was a bullet wound, but I don't remember where the bullet wounds were. I do remember seeing the bullets that were in his pocket. But although my family comes from Northern Ireland, I have never been particularly interested in guns and ammunition.
You also mentioned Bera Jani. How was his wound?
Well, Berarjani was, Berarjani I only know from his family because his cousin, they were from Anspoilo, his cousin used to work for somebody who eventually became my husband, but that's a long story. So, it was in a different incarnation. It was 20 years later. But I just knew of Bera and of all that happened through the Jani family, who were either in Anspoilo or Beilazar.
His body was not at the mortuary.
Not when I was there.
No.
Because his body, that was on the Saturday night, Sunday, and I was moved to Victoria on the 6th morning.
Thank you so much for appearing today.
I do.
And you've been very helpful in relation to both cases. We really appreciate it, so thank you very much.
Will I be recalled?
Not at this stage, not unless you pop up in another case, but probably not at this stage. But yeah, okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Good
you
morning.
coming today. Morning. Thank you. Can you please call the next witness?
Madame Amoosavaly Carolus.
Mrs. Right? I've got Mrs. I've got Mr.
Amoosavaly Sarah Carolus. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. So help me God. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Carolus, for appearing before the Commission today and doing so in open session. We think it's very important for people of Seychelles to hear the complaints and what happened to people, so we're grateful to you. And you've brought your daughter, I presume, with you today. Will you be speaking as well, or no? Okay, just there.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we invite you to set your complaint out, take your time.
Yeah.
If you need to adjourn at any time, just let us know,
Thank
and we'll be
you.
happy to accommodate you. So the floor is yours. Can we get another glass and maybe some?
So first of all, I say good morning to you, Madam Chair, and good morning for the opportunity of giving to submit my complaints before the Commission. Sorry, I didn't say good morning to the Commission members. Well, first of all, I'll introduce myself and a little bit of my family. My name is Sarah Carolus, but I have another name. It's too long for you to pronounce. I live at Amoosavaly, and I was a teacher by profession. I have 7 children, and the youngest one was 7 years. I was 4 years old when my husband died. So my only means to have to support my family and to care for my home was my monthly salary. My husband has been an active supporter of Mr. Montcalm and the Democratic Party from the time it was formed until he died in 1975. Well, now I'm going to proceed with one of my complaints. I have 3 complaints, but my first one will be about the violation of rights to education for my daughters. Okay. After the coup d'etat, the zoning system was established in all over Seychelles. And that is, all the private schools were closed, and the only schools were the private school in the district. So, because everybody, when they finish P9, they have to go to the NYS. And it was told that it was not compulsory. But if all the private schools are closed, where are you to go? Nowhere, you have to come back there. So students completing P9 had to join the NYS after to move on to the Polytechnic. Otherwise, to do their O-level, A-level, and other professional education. When the zoning system was introduced, the Regina Mundi convent, which all my daughters have attended, was closed. My 2 youngest daughters who were still at school had to leave and attend the Amoosavaly school. One was admitted to P6, the older one, and the youngest one in P5. Then they continued their study until P9, but the older one went in P8, and went to my daughter in France, who was living there, to continue her education. The youngest one, when she completed P9, I didn't send her to the NYS, and she stayed at home for sometimes 1 or 2 years. And then I say, no, that's not it. She has to do something. And I try to explore various avenues for her to pursue her study. Finally, I was advised by some Mauritian teachers where I was working to send her to Mauritius because it's our neighboring country. Then I listened to the advice. I did all the necessary things to be done and everything arranged. She went over to Mauritius. And there, she had many friends there because many students who have not attended the NYS were over there doing their further studies. So I feel it's a good gathering for them after leaving Regina Mundi, all of them. And afterwards, she was admitted to St. Andrew's School's secondary school, where she continued her study till O-level. Now, sending my daughter there to study abroad was a great expense and sacrifice for me, because we've never been separated. At that time, I was only earning a teacher's salary. It was difficult for the children to leave their home, of course, because it's the first separation. In 1988, the year in which my daughter in Mauritius obtained her O-level, the Mauritian, le ministre des Affaires étrangères visited Seychelles. And on his return to Mauritius, all directors of private schools in Mauritius were advised that no foreign student, in particular Seychellois student, were to be accepted in their schools. As from the following year, that was in the year 1988. So in January 1899, no foreign students should be attended the secondary private school. And this I've given the clip of paper there that you can see, I think it's with you. It's circular number 30 of 88, reproduced in a Mauritian newspaper. It's a clip. My youngest daughter, therefore, returned to Seychelles. There's no option. I made a request to the director of the Polytechnic, and she was to be admitted there to further her study until the advanced level. But the reply was that no admission for Seychellois students will be, no admission for Seychellois students in the Polytechnic if they didn't attend the NYS. But that didn't apply to everyone, because we know that at least one student who completed her O-level abroad was submitted to the Polytechnic. Left no other option when refused by your own people in your own country, when we say the right to education, but there we see what is happening. So there's no other option, but my daughter enrolled on a correspondence course with an English institution and studied her at home and obtained her O-level. So at this time, she managed to complete her study until the advanced level, which I'm so glad of it, because I've pursued with it, and with determination, she managed to do what she wanted and what I wanted to, because I know that education in the life of a child is very important. Having completed A-level, she sought employment, but everywhere she goes, everything was turned down. So there's no hope of it. Once or twice she applied to, well, I'll mention two of the places she applied. She applied to the hotel school for training, but was turned down. She applied to train as an airline pilot, again was turned down. But not to be deterred, she worked with a diving company at Beauvalon until she could find a proper job. After some time, she was employed at the Standard Chartered Bank as a clerk. In 1992, I was informed through a family friend that vacancies were being advertised and that my daughter should apply. Now, the one who was educated in France came back home, so there were two vacancies there. So both of them were advised to apply for the post. And there, I think the wind has changed course, and one was accepted in Foreign Affairs, and the other one as trainee public prosecutor with the in the AG's chamber. Now, after some time, the AG at the time wanted all officers at the AG's chambers to have legal training. My daughter working there was thus offered a scholarship to study law in Mauritius. When she came back, she was promoted to the position of state counsel. But after a time, she felt that she has to move on in her careers. So, with difficulty and challenges, she progresses and she moves up in the legal position until now. Well, that's about the history of my younger child. To sum up, I have to work hard all my life in the service of my country. My children have also worked hard since leaving school to save their country and to continue to do so. Despite the many challenges they have encountered, other than one of my children who lives abroad with her family, none of us have ever left Seychelles. We always put Seychelles as our homeland first. My daughters were victimized in both their education and work by the government. What kind of government would want to punish children and deny them of their education? Why? But through determination on my part and theirs, hard work and support from others, we overcome all difficulties and succeeded in the end. Okay.
So the NYS was not compulsory, but it actually
It
was.
was not, but it was.
But it was compulsory. But yeah. But why did you decide not to send your daughters to NYS?
Well, there were various reasons, you know. First of all, I, being a teacher, I've been exploring about the NYS before, once it was set up, you see. There are so many things that I'm not happy about it. First of all, the government wanted to brainwash the children through socialism. This I didn't agree. And then there are so many things going on over there in the village which I didn't appreciate. I, being a mother, I know what is right for my children. I want them to be well-disciplined and go in the right path of life. That's why I didn't send them. So I have no option, because there's no other school. This is to send them abroad.
When you send them abroad, then you have to pay for them to get there.
Yes.
And pay for their education while they're there.
But it was very hard, but
Yeah.
still, you know,
Yeah.
I sacrificed myself. As I heard some ladies say before, that the mother saved the money, sou by sou, that means poulet en dit. That means to save cent by cent for the hard times. So little by little, I could save. We sacrifice ourselves on other things. We live simple life. So I managed to accomplish their dreams in their education.
Not going to NYS, even when you got your qualifications elsewhere, you weren't going to get a job because you weren't. Yeah.
Mind you, it's for certain people. If you are not with them, you don't get it. So you must be with them.
Madame Carolus, we saw the letter from the then director of the Polytechnic, Mr. Pillay, saying that she won't get accepted because she hadn't been to NYS.
Yes.
But did you challenge that? I mean, on the basis of the fact that the NYS was not supposed to be compulsory, did you challenge that
But
decision?
even I challenged, I wrote twice to the director, even you challenge, it's one-party state. They would stay put on what they've said, you see? It's of no use, because in my other complaint, I have challenges. I even appealed to the president, not on this one, but nothing is being done. Once something is said, you can't change it. That's the system of the one-party government. So can I go on to the next one?
Madam Carolus, sorry.
Yes.
When you said you explored the NYS and you were not happy with your findings concerning NYS, you spoke about brainwashing and indoctrination. Where do you get your information from?
Well, because, you know, Bishop, Seychelles is a small country. We talk to each other. You get people from the education who are your friend. They tell you about it, you know? And then my son, who was there behind, he was at the NYS at that time, and he told me so many things. So he told me not to send her sisters over there, you see? And then from what I've gathered outside, from the people from the education themselves, so I decided not to send them, especially they are in their teens. They were about 13 or 14, you know? You don't send them in the wolf's mouth.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yes, can I continue on the next one? My next complaint is about my demotion and reduction of salary. Well, I joined the teaching profession in 1954 and retired after 40 years of service, with 42 years in teaching and 3 years as supervisor and superintendent of the school meal center. I was a primary school teacher, then a secondary school teacher, and then a vocational teacher. I received my training as a home economic teacher at the Bath College of Education in UK. Well, I was transferred to the school meal center in 1918, which was mainly responsible for cooking meals for the distribution of school children. The food was provided by the Catholic Relief Services. In 1983, I was asked to come and cook food for the Tanzanian soldiers who were in the country at that time to crush the rebellion. Well, that was a bit hard for me because I know what happened at the coup d'etat and after, how my brother and sister-in-law were detained and locked up in prison at Unionville, my brother-in-law as well. So it was a bit hard for me to do such thing, you know. And then realizing that it's unethical for food provided by the Catholic Relief Services for the vulnerable children of Seychelles and to be given Tanzanian soldiers. Why is it that food was not cooked at the army camp? That I think would be a good idea, you know, not depriving our children. Because you have to count how much food you need for these children. For example, I provide them with 1/3 of their daily requirement. Because I know at home some of them wouldn't get a breakfast, wouldn't get a proper meal, you know. And so they were provided with a cup of milk for break every day, and then they have the meal, which contains of fish, vegetable, and rice. So that was about, I counted it, and I say it's about 1/3 of their daily meal. At least they have a good meal at lunchtime. But then, let me tell you a little story. It may be true, it may be untrue. And last night, when I was listening to the verdict of one of the people that coming before you, well, when I was at the school meal center, one of my workers came and told me, "Madam, vous connaissez un spy parmi nous là?" Well, I didn't realize it. I said, "What nonsense are you saying?" il dit, oui, madame, ou pas connaître, tous les semaines, il y a des gens qui rapportent au ministère qui passent, qui nous fait ici la school meal. Well, at that time, I don't know, I didn't realize it. I was so innocent in all these things. And, but I knew my phone was bugged. That is one thing, because somebody from Cable and Wireless told me so. And at home too. But I didn't pay any attention to it. It was only last night when I was hearing about spying that I realized there may be some truth in it, you know. But all that time I didn't realize about it. So, and that person continued to tell me, watch out. I said, don't tell me nonsense. And then after I left, after I was demoted and my salary was unchanged, that I start thinking, I say, but that person may be right. Why is it they do that demotion and reduction of salary without telling me anything? But still I put it aside. I say, well, leave it. Following the incident on the 8th of June, 1983, I received a letter from the principal secretary informing me as of the 13th June 1983, I would be transferred back to primary school, but no explanation was given. The letter stated that my salary remained unchanged. But first of all, I was in primary school when I first started teaching. That means in 1954. From then on, I was in the secondary and post-secondary. But I said, that's strange. How is it I will be going back to primary secondary school? Then the second was my salary would remain unchanged. The promise was not kept, and my salary was reduced from 4,383 rupees, leaving me with 3,559 rupees, and with no reason given for the change. When asked for clarification on the subject, I was told that the salary drawn by an officer must be commensurate with the job being performed as a policy. I informed them of my dissatisfaction and wrote a letter of appeal to the president, and there he answered he was unable to review the decision already conveyed to you. But this is my point that I wanted to point out. Why is it the demotion to primary school without informing me? Why is it that they say that the salary would remain unchanged? You see? But I didn't have any answer up to now. I was transferred to Amoosavaly School, then to Amoosavaly School. I retired in 1999 and received Social Security of 1,300 rupees after 45 years of service in my country. I received a colonial pension of 1,082 rupees and no other pension as it had been abolished. My bills and financial commitments remain the same. Well, that colonial pension was frozen in 1979 until for the teachers, when you're 55, you get that pension that I was received, 1,082. Well, I never expected to be treated in this way for having principles. I was punished through demotion and reduction of salary, and this had a major effect on providing for my home and my 7 children. I also never received a pension from the Seychelles government upon retirement for all those years of service. I was disappointed with the leadership of my country for treating me in this way and for poverty I have had to endure, especially after my retirement. To this day, this issue has not been addressed. Every year, we celebrate Teachers' Day, and we hear how important teachers are. Just nice word, isn't it? I am, however, happy with my choice of profession and the recognition from all my students whose life I have shaped and for laying the foundation for their future in our society. There I have an example of one ex-student who came and said, you remember me? I was at school with you at Amoosavaly. So I'm so proud of this. This keeps me going to know that my ex-students are doing well in the society, building up the society. Now, who will take responsibility for the misery and poverty I went through? What about a pension or compensation for all these years of service? I hope somebody could answer this.
So you don't get any pension for?
I've got only the colonial pension,
Yeah.
and then just Social Security
Right.
after my retirement,
Right.
that's all.
No. I mean,
And then it was increased by 100 rupees every year for the Social Security as ordinary people. That means whether you've been walking on the street, not helping the country, or whether you've been helping the country all the life, you receive that Social Security, 1,300 rupees.
Miss Carolus, you don't receive pension fund? No?
Alors?
You don't receive pension fund?
Non, mon pas gagné pension fund, moi.
Okay.
Qui est raison de donner pour ça? Il est un peu strange, ça.
Pardon?
Il est supposé automatique, ça pension de fonds.
Ben, supposé, ben seulement that's the way it is. Mon pas gagné pension fund, moi.
When ton charita vai pachi pension fund pachi ko existe ou soit?
Mon crois pas encore chose, mais seulement. Mais vous êtes capable de review that scheme. Après, on travaille tout ça les temps. On aide au pays, on fait au pays lever, on fait fondation urbaine sa société. Mais mon crois que devenir recognition. Non?
Yes.
we agree.
Strange, il y a une pension pour civil servant.
Ben, je
Et
sais.
on
On
travaille dans
travaille jusqu'en
Oui, c'est ça.
1999.
Moi, c'est assez bizarre. Il y a une review of laws, of policies and regulations, et que something has not been done to
But Mr. Kui,
Oui.
whoever they want to give, even you didn't do anything, you are rewarded on one condition, that you follow their principles. And you follow the principle of the one-party state. If you're not with them, you are nothing. So you are penalized wherever you go and whatever you do.
Mon souhait à cause de grand filles, lawyers, educationalists, dans toutes les grandes positions, et vous pas ça qu'à être martyr, vous pas qu'à comprendre ça. Sorry, on dit ça à cause.
No, but it's true. It's a fact.
À cause de la loi, il y a révisé, dépend de la situation, et où on dit bien reconnaître sa pays pour fondation de l'éducation, tout le monde cause le où, on comprend ça assez difficilement qu'on a une histoire comme ça.
We will try to find out why you are not getting a pension, because it seems strange and wrong
Very
at the
strange.
same time, right?
Oui. Yes. I'm finished. Number 2. Number 3. Now, I go to the third complaint. This is the inability to purchase the land occupied for over so many years. My husband and his family were given permission to build a house and occupy the surrounding area on the property at Amoosavaly, owned by Mrs. Knott, the daughter of Dr. Bradley. Bishop, you may have heard of this famous man who owned a lot of land at Amoosavaly. He didn't, but we didn't pay any rent. I do not have, now, I went to live in the house in 1957 after the death of my husband in 1975. I occupied the house with my 7 children. After the coup d'etat, the land was acquired by government. Now, feeling insecure of what might happen to our home, accommodation for my family and myself, I wrote a letter to the government in June 1984 with a request to purchase the land where I was residing. That was parcel C-3031. This request was refused, saying that I could reside there on a temporary basis, as the land was required for extension for the Polytechnic. At that time, it was Polytechnic. Now it's the A-level campus. In 1992, I was sold a parcel after arguing with them, exchanging letters. In 1992, I was sold a parcel of land that is C2363 with the understanding that the government would compensate me for the existing house or provide a loan for building the house. I waited a long time and requested for a housing loan, and the request remained unanswered. My existing house badly needed repair. I sold the land to repair the house because you can't go on a land without a shelter. Where are you going to live? Under the rocks? On the street? I don't know what they were thinking. I think it's just a kind of punishment. Correspondence on the matter continued until 1996, when I received a letter giving me and my children 6 months to vacate the land. In 1998, the parcel 3031 was subject to subdivision by the Land and Survey Division. Beacons were placed around positions around my house, including fruit trees, gardens, and grounds that our house occupied. It seems that the government was preparing the land for sale. Now, in 1998, I again renewed my application for the purchase of land, now C4456. Because of what I've been saying, it's not to the expansion of the Polytechnic, but now it's for sale with individuals to build their own house, you see? I went to the minister and sent a letter of appeal to the president, who sent me back to the minister. And there, when I returned to the minister, this is what he told me. This was Mr. Dolo Ernesta. He was so arrogant. Then, finally, I went to see the ombudsman. There, he told me not to worry, leave things in his hand. And finally, in 2000, I got an answer from Ministry of Land Use and Habitat because I was then reaching retiring age and was informed that I would not be able to buy the land. An offer of 91,000 rupees was made to my daughter. So you see the catch there. She asked them to consider a reduction as she was the only one receiving a salary to support the family and the home. I had retired and received 1,300 rupees Social Security, unable to take care of, which enabled me to take care of my expenses. What is that money? You have your children, you have your commitment, and how are you going to live? In 2002, a letter of offer with condition that I should be granted usufruct was sent to her. The cost was reduced to 68,000 rupees. She accepted as we needed to secure the roof over our heads. Thank you. Sorry to keep you waiting. Well, from 1984 to 2003 is a long time to live in uncertainty about a roof over my head and that of my family. I had been living in this home since 1957, and my husband long before that. I had to fight 18 long years to finally be sold that and could not buy the house and would be given usufruct. I suffered a lot of mental and emotional strain as a result of this situation and a lot of financial hardship to secure a place to stay. Today, some 12 plots have been sold in the area. That means from my house down to the main road opposite the fish tank. All the lands there were not occupied. It's supposed to be for the expansion of the Polytechnic, but it was sold to individuals, and there a lot of houses were constructed. Was it necessary to punish me in this way and to ask us to pay for the home? We had lived there more than 40 years. That means in a meeting that I have with the Ministry of Land and Development, I was offered for tenancy right for life. But if they are giving me tenancy right for life, but we know that life is not reliable. At any time you may drop dead, and what would happen to my family? So I refused such condition. And from that time I realized that they are doing some malicious things with me, you know, because when I get their words, I read their letters, through the words of their letters, I can see what they are aiming at. But that's not done. Okay. Okay. Well, I don't know what you think of that, but it's sure malicious, you know. But all the time, even I was given time to stay there on a temporary basis, I didn't pay any rent. Because when we first built our house, the owner, we didn't pay. At that time, people, you know, especially owner of lands, they won't let somebody who is a poor pay rents, you see? Especially the Anglican people, they are like brothers and sisters. They help one another. So it's after the...
I was
It's
just going
after the coup d'etat that I suffered all these miseries.
But you built the house. So
Yes.
it wasn't somebody else's
No, no.
house. Yeah, you built the house. And the owner of the land, the original owner of the land, allowed you to build the house and live there without paying
Yeah.
rent. Right. And then it was compulsorily acquired.
I
Yeah.
just don't remember the date the house was built, but it was quite a bit of time, around about 1930, something like this. So definitely through tenancy right, you have the right to own the land without paying anything. But still, they charge us with a large sum of amount when all these land that they sold afterward was about 30 to 35,000. But they thought that we wouldn't pay, so we were asking for the land. There, I give you. But we did manage to pay with the help of others and my family. We were able to pay to teach them that we could buy the land. They're not doing this to us. You know, I had a friend, Francis Acus. She often said that to me. Be the persistent widow, don't give up. And I've been through. And there I'm still here today, standing strong and firm because I was determined to do. That was my principle. I don't want anybody to put their hand under my nose.
And your situation seems contrary to what was intended by the new system, well, by the regime, right? That everyone should have their plot of land and their house, and that's why they were taking it. But it does seem that you were treated in a different manner and made to live under this uncertainty, contrary to all the principles of the new regime about house and land security.
But they only preach, it's lip service, you know. Nothing is being done of what they've been preaching. First of all, it's about education. Having the NYS, which is not compulsory, but it goes down like a vicious circle, isn't it? You have nowhere to go, you have to stay there and go through the system. And then with the land again, with the demotion and the salary unchanged. I don't know. They try to punish me in every way they can, but still, I was determined to stand strong. And I think my guardian angel whispered to me, fear not, for the Lord is with you.
Just as well. But you know, when you were demoted, were you complaining about having to feed the Tanzanians? Or did you refuse to feed the Tanzanians?
No, even I tried to go about it, writing letters, you know. Even in the end, when I said there's no way to turn, I appealed to the president, but he wouldn't listen. He said, whatever they've done, it's right. So
that probably got you
He
demoted.
wouldn't see me.
Yeah, that probably got you demoted.
I've applied this for the demotion, and I've applied this for the land. It's the same answer I've got from him. You see, all these people, they work like a chain. Whatever has been said, right down, the top will say the same thing. The top, whatever he had done, has to be abide by those at the lower level.
Madame Carolus, la situation est vraiment bizarre. Hein? Salaire, elle demande d'après la loi à l'emploi. Ou pas qu'à diminuer le salaire.
Yes?
Même si vous dites qu'il faut descendre à l'autre position, mais son salaire n'est pas descendre.
Mais par exemple, on peut dire aujourd'hui, là, in a present state, nous pouvons causer la case. Du monde n'a pas la case, nous besoin provide autres with la case. Autres n'a pas l'éducation. L'éducation, il faudrait gagner, isn't it? Tout ça, quelque chose, nous faudrait nous gagner, mais qui arrive. Certains petits monde gagnent, il paraît les coups d'État. Les coups d'État, ça veut dire que tu fais coup d'État, tu n'as pas l'éducation. They were nobody. I know many of them. Some of them have been at school with me. I know many of them and their parents, you know. I'm 84 years old today.
Today, right today. It's your birthday today. or
No.
you're generally 84?
In September.
Yeah, September. Wow.
So I know many people, you know, and this is what we have today. Even we say it's multi-party, but it's not. It's still the same.
Mrs. Carolus, for the demotion, did you ever get any reason why you were demoted? Why
No, it was unanswered. I've written to them too, and they keep on telling me whatever decision we've been taken is unchanged. This is the word, unchanged. So where to go? If you've gone up to the president, there's nowhere to go. Bon. So.
Thank you so much for coming and setting out your complaints so clearly. We will definitely follow up on them. So particularly the pension, I think you lost your job. I think you got demoted because you complained, right? You weren't allowed to do that, but yeah. And we will look into this land issue as well, but
Yes.
because it seems contrary to the whole system that was
Yeah.
meant to be put in place. And I think you were not with them, right? So
Yes.
that was, and you didn't send your children to the NYS. So there was a lot of indications that you weren't with them. But thank you so much for speaking publicly, setting your complaints out so clearly.
Thank you.
We don't have any more questions for you unless you have a question for us.
No, but I have nothing to say except that I'm telling the parents, mostly single parents, not to give up, but to fight with determination for their children. In the end, they'll achieve what they want. This is I want to tell the single parents who fight hard and send their children abroad for their education, because this is their life.
Well, you did an amazing job of that with 7 children, and I hear that they're all doing very well. So congratulations.
Thank you.
You know, well done. You were not defeated on any level, so determination, right? So very nice to meet you, and we will be in touch because
Yes.
we will be investigating
Yes.
your claims.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Pleasure
you,
to meet you.
the
Thank
whole
you.
members of the commission.
Thank you. So we
I
will-
know it's a
yeah.
very hard work for you,
It is.
but with determination, you'll achieve what you want. Thank you very much.
Thanks for those words of wisdom. We've got to be determined, right? We
Right.
do. Yeah, I agree. So we will adjourn now, and we will return at 1 p.m. Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you.
All
Bye.
rise.